The rain hammered against my apartment window like it was trying to break in, mirroring the storm raging inside me. I'd just slammed the door on the argument that had been brewing for weeks. Months, if I was honest, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. Then came the knock, 3 sharp raps at midnight, urgent and uninvited, pulling me back from the edge I'd been teetering on all night. I froze, my hand still on the doorknob, because I knew that knock. It was Joshua's, hesitant at first, then insistent, like he was knocking on more than just wood. I yanked the door open, and there he was, soaked to the bone, his blonde hair plastered to his forehead, that gray hoodie clinging to his broad shoulders like a second skin. His blue eyes, those damn eyes that had haunted me since freshman year at UW, locked onto mine, wide with something I couldn't place. Panic? Desperation? Or was it just the rain making him look so raw, so human? "Dan," he said, his voice cracking like thunder in the hallway. I can't do this anymore. Let me in." I stepped aside without a word, because what else could I do? Joshua barreled past me, dripping water onto the worn hardwood of my Capitol Hill studio, the kind of place that's all exposed brick and fairy lights, but feels like a cage when you're hiding secrets. He shrugged off his hoodie, revealing the faded mariner's tee underneath, and ran a hand through his hair, sending droplets flying. I grabbed a towel from the bathroom and tossed it to him, our fingers brushing for a split second, enough to send that familiar jolt through me, the one I'd been ignoring for years. We'd met in Seattle, back in 2018, when the city was still buzzing from that World Series hangover, and we were both 18, wide-eyed kids from the suburbs pretending we had it all figured out. Joshua was the golden boy, quarterback on the high school team in Bellevue, straight A student with a laugh that could fill a room. I was Daniel Hayes, the quiet theater kid from Tacoma, more comfortable behind a script than on stage. We bonded over late-night study sessions in the dorms, scarfing down Dick's drive-in burgers and quoting lines from the West Wing like it was our religion. He called me his straight-edge sidekick, and I laughed it off, because back then, I thought I could bury what I felt for him under layers of bro-code bullshit. But feelings don't stay buried. Not when you're sharing a tiny apartment off campus your junior year, or crashing on each other's couches after bar crawls in Pioneer Square. Joshua dated girls, cheerleaders, baristas, that one poli-sci major with the nose ring, but I watched from the sidelines, nursing crushes on extras in the plays I directed. I never said a word. Why ruin the best friendship I'd ever had? Brothers before. Well, you know. Now, at 25, with the rain pounding outside like it was auditioning for Noah's Ark, Joshua paced my living room, towel forgotten on the couch. "It's over, Dan. Emily and I, we're done." Emily, the fiancée, the one who'd proposed to him last Christmas over eggnog and Die Hard on TBS, in front of both our families crammed into his parents' Lake Washington house. She'd been perfect on paper, yoga instructor, liberal arts degree, the kind of girl who recycled and volunteered at cat shelters. They'd met at a Mariners game 2 years ago, bonding over overpriced hot dogs and his terrible 7th-inning stretch. I was the best man at their engagement party, toasting to forever, while my chest ached like I'd swallowed glass. "What happened?" I asked, sinking onto the arm of the couch, keeping my distance. My voice came out steadier than I felt. Inside, a traitorous part of me wanted to cheer, selfish, ugly elation that she'd finally seen through the cracks in his armor. He stopped pacing, leaned against the kitchenette counter, and scrubbed his face with his hands. She found the texts, the ones from that trip to Portland. My stomach dropped. The trip to Portland. Last summer, Joshua and I had road tripped down the coast. His idea, a guy's getaway to celebrate his promotion at the tech startup in South Lake Union. We'd hit the breweries, hiked Multnomah Falls, crashed in a kitschy motel off I-5. One night, after 2 mini IPAs at Deschutes Brewery, he'd gotten weepy, confessing how Emily's endless wedding Pinterest boards were suffocating him. I'd held his hand under the table. Innocent, I told myself, and he'd squeezed back, his thumb tracing circles on my skin. Nothing happened. Not really. But the texts afterward? "Miss talking like that, man. You're the only one who gets me." Sent at 2 a.m., with a string of fire emojis that felt loaded. Texts. I echoed, playing dumb. My heart hammered. Had she seen them? The ones where he called me his rock, or worse, That blurry photo I'd sent of us shirtless after a dip in the Columbia River Gorge, arms slung around each other, grinning like idiots? Joshua nodded, his jaw tight. Yeah, she thought. Shit, Dan, she thought I was cheating. With you. The word hung in the air like smoke from a backfired engine. Cheating. With me. I laughed, a short, bitter bark that echoed off the brick walls. And what did you say? He met my eyes, and for a second, I saw it. The flicker of doubt, the question he'd never voiced. I told her it was nothing. Just bros being brothers. But she didn't buy it. Started digging. Found that old email from college. You remember, the one where you joked about us running off to San Francisco together? I did remember. A stupid, half-drunk rant after a Rent screening, where I'd typed out a fantasy escape. Him and me, fog rolling in off the bay, no judgments, no hiding. I deleted the sent copy, but apparently, it lived on in some archived folder of his inbox. He crept up my neck. That was a joke, Josh. We were wasted. I know, he said quickly, too quickly. But she said I've been different since Portland. Distant with her, closer with you. Accused me of being confused. He spat the word like it was poison, crossing his arms over his chest. Like I'm some kind of, I don't know, not straight. The room spun. Not straight. The phrase I'd dreamed of hearing from his lips, but not like this. Not twisted into an accusation, a weapon in a breakup fight. I stood up, needing to move, to put space between us before I said something irreversible. Confused about what? About me? His eyes darted away, to the rain-streaked window overlooking Broadway's neon glow. No. God, no. You're my best friend, Dan. That's all. All. The words sliced deeper than any knife. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat, and busied myself making coffee, strong, black, the way he liked it. As the machine gurgled, I stole glances at him. The way his shoulders slumped, the faint stubble shadowing his jaw, the tattoo on his forearm. A compass rose we'd gotten together in Vegas on a whim, symbolizing finding our way. Lies. We'd been lost from the start. We talked, or rather, he vented, for hours. Emily had thrown his ring at him, screaming about betrayal, about how he'd ruined everything by not shutting down the rumors sooner. Rumors? Apparently, his co-workers at the startup had noticed. The inside jokes, the lunch breaks that stretched into happy hours, the way he'd light up when I texted him memes about bad sci-fi. In Seattle's tech scene, where rainbow flags fly from every coffee shop and pride is basically a national holiday, whispers spread like wildfire. Is Joshua Hayes finally out? Someone had joked at the office holiday party. Emily overheard, and the dam broke. By 3 a.m., the rain had eased to a drizzle, and Joshua was crashed on my futon, snoring softly under the mariner's blanket I'd stolen from his old room. I sat at my desk, staring at the blank script on my laptop, another indie play about unrequited love, because apparently, that's all I knew how to write. My fingers hovered over the keys, itching to type out the truth. I love you, you idiot. Have for years. But I didn't. Instead, I pulled up old photos. Us at Gasworks Park, silhouetted against the Space Needle. Him carrying me home after a bar fight in Belltown I'd stupidly started over some drunk guy's homophobic slur. Joshua had punched the guy, not me. Always protecting. Always the hero. As dawn crept in, gray and unforgiving, I made a decision. I'd be the friend he needed. No confessions, no drama. Just coffee and bad TV until he picked up the pieces. But deep down, I knew. That knock at midnight wasn't just about Emily. It was the crack in the facade, the moment everything we'd built started to crumble. Little did I know, the real storm was just beginning. The next morning, or afternoon, really, since neither of us had slept much, Joshua woke up groggy, rubbing his eyes like a kid after a nightmare. I was already in the kitchen, flipping pancakes because that's what you do when your world's imploding, carbs and denial. The smell of maple syrup filled the air, mixing with the faint mustiness of rain-soaked clothes drying on the fire escape. Morning, sunshine, I said, sliding a plate his way. He mumbled a thanks, digging in without ceremony, the fork scraping against the cheap Target dishware we'd bought on a Black Friday binge years ago. We ate in silence at first, the kind that's comfortable until it's not. Seattle's soundtrack hummed outside, distant ferries honking, a busker strumming Dylan on his guitar down the block. Joshua finally broke it, fork midway to his mouth. Dan, about last night. I didn't mean to dump all that on you. You're always cleaning up my messes. I shrugged, pouring more coffee. Third cup for me, second for him. That's what friends do, right? Hold the umbrella while the other guy figures out his shit. He chuckled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Yeah, well, Emily's not wrong about one thing. I've been off. Work's kicking my ass. Deadlines, that asshole VP breathing down my neck, and then the wedding. God, Dan, it felt like signing up for a life sentence. I love her, I do. Or I thought I did. But it's like, I'm 25, and suddenly everyone's expecting me to have a 5-year plan, a mortgage, kids. What if I fuck it up? There it was. The vulnerability peeking through, the Joshua I'd glimpsed in stolen moments. Not the polished tech bro with the LinkedIn smile, but the guy who'd cry during The Fault in Our Stars, and then deny it with a burp. I leaned back, crossing my arms to steady myself. Then you fuck it up. And you fix it. That's life, Josh. Not some algorithm you can optimize. He nodded, but his gaze lingered on me a beat too long, searching. You're good at this, you know. The pep talks. Always have been. Remember that time in college, after my dad bailed on graduation? You dragged me to Alki Beach at sunrise, made me bury my regrets in the sand like some cheesy rom-com. I laughed, the memory flooding back, the cold Puget Sound waves nipping at our toes, him shirtless and shivering, me pretending not to notice the way the light hit his skin. Hey, it worked. You aced your interviews the next week. Yeah, he said softly. You always make it work. The air thickened, charged like the moments before a summer squall. I stood abruptly, clearing plates to break the spell. Get dressed. We're getting out of here. Fresh air, or whatever passes for it in this smog. We ended up at Discovery Park, hiking the loop trail under a sky that couldn't decide if it wanted to clear or storm again. Joshua talked nonstop, venting about Emily's family, those judgmental in-laws from Kirkland who thought theater was frivolous, his mom's passive-aggressive texts about grandkids, the pressure from his bros at the gym to man up and commit. I listened, nodding at the right times, my own secrets coiled tight in my chest like a spring. Halfway up the bluff, overlooking the Olympics shrouded in mist, he stopped short. Dan, what if she's right? About me being confused? My breath caught. The trail was empty, just us and the eagles wheeling overhead, the salt air sharp on my tongue. I turned to him, heart slamming against my ribs. Confused how? He kicked at a root, frustration etching lines around his mouth. I don't know. Lately I've been noticing things. Guys at the office, the way they move, laugh. It's stupid, right? Just a phase. Stress. But last night, when she said it, it didn't feel wrong. It felt like she'd named a shadow I'd been ignoring. Shadow. The word hung between us, heavy as the fog rolling in off the sound. I wanted to reach out, to tell him it wasn't stupid, that shadows have names and shapes, and sometimes they fit perfectly. But fear clamped down. Fear of losing him, of turning our friendship into collateral damage. Josh, sexuality's not a checkbox. It's messy, human. If you're questioning, that's okay. Doesn't make you less you. He looked at me then, really looked, his eyes tracing my face like he was memorizing it. What about you? You've never. I mean, with all the plays and artsy shit, the pride stickers on your laptop. Are you gay? The word he couldn't say, the one I'd whispered to myself in mirrors since high school. I forced a grin, clapping him on the shoulder, brotherly, safe. Me? Nah. I'm just an ally with good taste in musicals. It was a lie, the biggest one yet, and it burned going down. We hiked on, the conversation veering to safer ground. The Mariners' slim playoff hopes, that new IPA at Elysian. But the seed was planted, festering. That night, back at my place, Joshua crashed again, said his sublet in Fremont felt too empty. We ordered Thai from the spot on Pike, binge-watched Ted Lasso until our eyes burned. Around episode 3, he dozed off against my shoulder, his head heavy and warm. I didn't move, didn't breathe, just let the credits roll in silence. His hand rested on my knee, innocent in sleep, and for a heartbeat, I let myself imagine, waking up like this every day, no hiding, no half-truths. But reality's a bitch. My phone buzzed, a text from our mutual friend Sarah, Emily's maid of honor. Heard about the blow-up. You okay? And Josh, Tell him she's telling everyone he cheated with you. Drama's exploding. I deleted it, but the damage was done. Betrayal's first whisper, not from Joshua, but from the world we'd built around us, cracking under the weight of unspoken truths. The next week blurred into a routine of codependence. Joshua stayed over more, his duffel bag a permanent fixture by the door. We cooked spaghetti in my tiny kitchen, argued over the last slice of voodoo donut, walked the market at dawn dodging tourists. He threw himself into work, landing a big client pitch that had the office buzzing. I buried myself in rehearsals for my play, a raw piece about fractured families, inspired, unwittingly, by us. But the rumors spread like Seattle's legendary traffic jams, backed up, unavoidable. Emily posted cryptic Instagram stories, broken heart emojis over beach sunsets in Maui, where she'd fled for clarity. Joshua's phone blew up with group texts. Dude, WTF? You and Dan. His mom called, voice tight with that wasp politeness. Honey, is there something you need to tell us? He denied it all, of course. To them, to me. It's bullshit, he'd say, slamming cabinets. But I'd catch him staring in the mirror, like he was seeing a stranger. And me? I was unraveling. Every brush of his hand, every late-night confession chipped away at my resolve. One evening, after a particularly brutal rehearsal where the lead actor flubbed a coming-out scene, I came home to find Joshua on the balcony, nursing a beer, the city lights twinkling below like fallen stars. Bad day? He asked, handing me one. Par for the course. I clinked bottles, leaning on the railing. The Space Needle pierced the skyline, a needle threading our fragile normalcy. He sighed, fogging the chill air. Dan, I think I need to talk to someone. A therapist. Figure this out before I drag everyone down. Pride swelled, mixed with dread. That's smart. Brave, even. His laugh was hollow. Brave? Feels like cowardice. Hiding from Emily, from you. From myself. From me. The words echoed, a chasm opening. I turned to him, the city hum fading. Josh, whatever it is, I'm here. Always. He stepped closer, our shoulders touching, and for a reckless second, I thought he'd close the gap. Instead, he pulled back, eyes shadowed. Yeah, thanks, man. That night, as he slept, I slipped out to the living room, phone in hand. I texted Sarah, tell Emily to back off. It's not what she thinks. But deep down, I wondered, what if it was? What if the lie I'd lived was the real betrayal? And then, the knock came again, not at midnight, but in the form of a manila envelope slid under my door 2 days later. Inside, printouts of those Portland texts, highlighted, with Emily's scrawled note. He's lying to you both. Ask him about the journal. Journal. Joshua's leather-bound thing from college, full of half-poems and doodles. I'd teased him about it once, called it his emo diary. He said he'd burned it after graduation. Turns out, Emily had found it in his desk drawer, and what it revealed would shatter everything. The journal hit me like a freight train out of Tacoma, unexpected, unrelenting, derailing every assumption I'd clung to. I sat on the floor of my apartment, pages splayed across the rug like autopsy photos, the afternoon light slanting through the blinds in harsh stripes. Joshua was at work, oblivious, while I pored over his words. Entries from our college days, cryptic at first, then brutally honest. October 2019. Dan laughed at my joke today. Real laugh, not the polite one. Made my chest tight. What's wrong with me? Brothers don't feel like this. March 2020. Lockdown sucks. Sharing the shoebox with him. Woke up to him humming in the shower. Imagine joining him. Jesus, Josh, get a grip. Emily's texting hearts. Focus. Emily. She'd been a freshman then, a sorority girl he'd dated on the rebound after a bad breakup. But the journal painted a different picture. Him forcing dates, kissing her while his mind wandered to late-night talks with me over Stranger Things marathons. And Portland. God, Portland. Pages of feverish scrawl, his hand on mine under the table. Felt like home. If I were braver. Braver. The word mocked me as tears blurred the ink. All this time, I'd been the one pining, scripting our non-existent romance in my head, while he, what, loved me back? Feared it? Buried it so deep it poisoned everything. Rage bubbled up, hot and righteous. How dare he? How dare he knock on my door at midnight, spill his confusion, and leave me to assemble the puzzle alone? I shoved the pages back in the envelope, hands shaking, and stormed out, straight to Emily's yoga studio in Ballard, the one with the succulents and essential oils that always made me sneeze. She was in child's pose when I burst in, but she unfolded gracefully, her dark ponytail swinging like a pendulum. No surprise in her eyes, just weary resignation. "Daniel, I figured you'd show up. You sent this to fuck with him," I hissed, waving the envelope. The studio smelled of lavender and betrayal, other classes murmuring in the next room. She stood, wiping her hands on her leggings, calm as Lake Washington on a windless day. "No, to wake him up. And you. He's been stringing us both along, Dan. Denying what he feels because his dad's a retired cop who still calls gay marriage that nonsense. And his bros think sensitivity is a four-letter word." I recoiled, the truth landing like a sucker punch. Joshua's family, the barbecues in Bellevue with Bud Lights and bad jokes, his old man clapping him on the back after every touchdown. "So you dumped him? Over this?" Emily's laugh was sharp, edged with pain. "I didn't dump him. He dumped me, by not choosing, by letting me plan a life he didn't want. And you're the ghost in the room, Dan. Every time he talked about you, it was different. Reverent. Like you were the one he was building toward. Reverent." The word lodged in my throat, choking back the sob building there. I wanted to hate her, for seeing what I'd blinded myself to, for forcing the confrontation. But mostly, I pitied her, the woman who'd loved a man who loved a shadow. "Fix it," she said, turning back to her mat. "Or let him go. But don't let him rot in limbo. He deserves better." I left in a daze, the envelope burning a hole in my jacket. Back home, I hid it under my mattress, the coward's choice, and waited for Joshua. He came in late, reeking of craft beer and office triumph, a bottle of celebratory Pinot under his arm. "Clients on board. We're talking six figures, Dan. This calls for a toast." We drank on the couch, his arm slung casual over the backrest, fingers inches from my shoulder. He rambled about projections and KPIs, but I barely heard, my mind replaying journal lines like a broken reel. "If I were braver." "Earth to Dan," he said finally, snapping his fingers. "You okay? Look like you saw a ghost." I set my glass down, the wine sloshing like blood in a vial. "Emily came by the theater today, dropped off some old stuff." His face paled, the easy grin evaporating. "What stuff?" "The journal." The word dropped like a grenade. He froze, glass halfway to his lips. "You kept it? After all this time?" "Apparently." I leaned forward, elbows on knees, forcing his eyes to mine. "Why didn't you tell me, Josh? About any of it?" He bolted up, pacing like a caged wolf. "Tell you what, that I was a dumb kid with crushes? It's nothing. Nothing." My voice rose, cracking on the edges. "You wrote about wanting to kiss me in the goddamn shower. About how I make your chest tight. That's not nothing. That's everything." The room went still, the hum of the fridge the only sound. Joshua stopped, his back to me, shoulders rigid. When he turned, his face was a mask. Anger, shame, fear twisted together. "You read it?" "All of it. Emily sent it. To wake us up," she said. I stood, closing the distance, the air electric. "You've been carrying this alone, lying to yourself, to her, to me. For what? To keep the status quo? The straight best friend who'll never cross the line?" "It's not that simple," he shouted, voice echoing off the bricks. "You think I wanted this? To question everything. My job, my family, who I am, because of feelings I can't control? I love you, Dan. Fuck, I love you. But saying it out loud? It ruins us. It ruined Emily. What if it ruins you? Love." The word exploded, fragments embedding in my skin. I grabbed his shirt, not gently, pulling him close enough to smell the wine on his breath, the salt of unshed tears. "It already has. Every day we pretend, it ruins a little more." He kissed me then, not tentative, not questioning, but fierce, desperate, like he'd been starving. His hands fisted in my hair, lips crashing against mine with the force of all those buried entries. The world narrowed to that point of contact, the scrape of stubble, the hitch in his breath, the way he tasted like Pinot and possibility. I kissed back, pouring years of ache into it, my fingers tracing the compass on his arm, our shared ink, now pointing true north. We broke apart, gasping, foreheads pressed together, the journal forgotten on the floor. "What now?" he whispered, voice raw. "Now," I said, heart thundering, "we figure it out. Together. No more hiding. But lies have long shadows." The next morning, over coffee and awkward silence, Joshua's phone rang. His mom, voice shrill through the speaker. "Joshua Hayes, what is this I hear about you and Daniel?" Emily's mother called, said you're one of those? After all we've done. He hung up mid-rant, face ashen. "It's out. The whole family's talking." Panic clawed at me. I directed the chaos, confronted him, kissed him. But this was fallout, nuclear. "We can fix it. Talk to them." "No." He shook his head, grabbing his keys. "I need space. To think. Without this." He gestured between us, the air still humming from last night. "Josh." "I'm sorry, Dan. I can't." And he was gone, doors slamming like a guillotine. The betrayal sank in slow, not his leaving, but the realization that love, raw and unfiltered, could be the cruelest cage. I called Emily that afternoon, voice steady through the tears. "You were right, but it doesn't feel like waking up. It feels like drowning." She sighed, soft and sympathetic. "Then swim, Daniel. Or let go." I chose to swim. Rehearsals, scripts, late nights at the theater pouring my guts onto the page. Joshua went radio silent. No texts, no knocks. Whispers reached me through Sarah. He'd hold up in his sublet, therapy sessions twice a week, dodging family calls. A month passed, then two, Seattle's relentless gray mirroring my mood. Pride came and went. I marched alone, rainbow flag heavy on my shoulders. The climax hit on a sticky July evening, during opening night of my play. The house was packed, the story unfolding. A man torn between duty and desire, his best friend the unwitting catalyst. As the final scene built, the lover's confession under stage fog like Portland mist, the stage door burst open. Joshua, disheveled, eyes red-rimmed, slipping into the back row. He watched, unmoving, as the actors embraced, the applause crashing like waves. When the curtain fell, he waited in the lobby, flowers in hand. Daisies, my favorite, because he remembered. "Dan," he said when I emerged, sweaty and spent. "I saw it all. In the words. In you." My throat tightened. "It's fiction. Bullshit." He stepped closer, the crowd milling around us like extras. "It's us. And I. I can't hide anymore. Therapy helped. I told my folks, screaming match, but they're trying. Emily and I talked. She's healing, dating some surfer dude now. But you. I miss you. Every damn day." The unexpected twist, not rejection, but revelation. He dropped to one knee, not proposal style, but earnest, hand extended. "Be my co-pilot, Dan. For real this time. No journals, no secrets. Just us, finding our way." Tears blurred the daisies. The crowd hushed, sensing the drama. I pulled him up, kissing him soft and sure, right there in the lobby lights. Applause rippled, strangers cheering our private high. But joy's fragile. As we walked out into the neon night, his phone buzzed, a text from his dad. "Proud of you, son. But if this blows up..." The shadow lingered. Love wasn't a fairy tale. It was work, messy and American as apple pie with a side of therapy bills. The months after that lobby kiss were a whirlwind of tentative steps and seismic shifts, the kind that reshaped Seattle's fault lines one quake at a time. Joshua and I dove in head first. No half measures, no brozone safety nets. We made it official over dim sum at Din Tai Fung in the U District, clinking baijiu glasses to us, laughing when the server mistook us for tourists. That night, we walked home hand in hand down University Way, past the falafel trucks and buskers, ignoring the stares. Seattle's progressive, sure, same-sex marriage legal since 2012, rainbows on every crosswalk during June, but old habits die hard. A few sideways glances, a whispered faggots from a passing car. Joshua tensed, but I squeezed his hand. "Welcome to the club, babe." "Babe." The endearment slipped out easy, like it had been waiting in the wings. He grinned, that boyish flash of teeth, and pulled me into an alley for a kiss that tasted like pork buns and freedom. For the first time, it felt real, not stolen, not shadowed. But humanism's in the grit, not the gloss. Joshua's coming out rippled outward like a stone in Lake Union. His dad showed up unannounced one Sunday, bearing a six-pack and a stiff apology. "I was wrong, son. About a lot. Your mom's baking pies, nervous habit." We sat on my balcony, awkward small talk over IPAs, until Joshua cracked a joke about Top Gun, his old man's favorite, and the ice thawed. Not perfect. His mom still sent Bible verses via email, passive-aggressive as ever, but progress. Emily, we ran into her at a coffee shop in Fremont, her new guy in tow, all dreads and ukulele vibes. Hugs all around, no venom. "Happier?" she asked Joshua, eyeing our linked fingers. "Finally," he said, and meant it. My world shifted too. The play got extended. Reviews called it a poignant gut punch for the post-Obergefell generation. And suddenly, I had agents sniffing around, offers for workshops in New York. Joshua cheered loudest, front row at every show, his presence a talisman against stage fright. But success bred its own conflicts. My director pushed for a queer lead role that mirrored us too closely, blurring art and life. "It's exploitative," I argued in a heated greenroom spat, turning our pain into ticket sales. Joshua mediated, ever the fixer. "It's catharsis, Dan. Like therapy, but with spotlights." We compromised, toned down the betrayals, amped the hope, and it worked. But deeper rifts simmered. His job demanded 80-hour weeks. Mine pulled me into midnight rewrites. Arguments flared, petty at first, whose turn to load the dishwasher, then raw. One night, after he bailed on a reading to crunch numbers, I snapped. "Am I just your coming-out trophy? The plot twist that fixed your straight guy narrative." He recoiled, hurt flashing blue. "Is that what you think? That this, us, is some phase?" We yelled until neighbors banged on the walls, then collapsed in tears, him tracing my knuckles like in Portland. "You're my north, Dan. Always were. Work's temporary, you? Eternal. Eternal." The word anchored us, but misunderstandings festered. The biggest, his ex-brothers. The gym crew from college, meatheads who'd once called me Danny Boy, with backslaps that lingered too long. They cornered him at a pickup game in Magnuson Park, beers post-game turning ugly. "Heard you're batting for the other team now." One slurred, tossing the ball hard. Joshua laughed it off. "Yeah, and scoring big." But later, at home, he punched the fridge, knuckles bloody. "They think I'm a joke. A sellout." I cleaned the cuts, antiseptic stinging. "They're dinosaurs, Josh. Evolving's painful." But his doubt crept in. Therapy sessions doubled, where he unpacked internalized crap from years of locker room machismo. "What if I'm not gay? What if it's you, specifically you, and that makes me broken?" The question gutted me, a fresh betrayal, not of intent, but of fear. We hit a wall, him retreating to his sublet for space, me drowning in scripts that now felt hollow. Sarah staged an intervention over tacos at El Camion. "You two are idiots in love. Talk, or I'll haunt your dreams with bad poetry." Her words, blunt as Seattle rain, jolted us. We met at our old spot, Gasworks Park, kites dotting the sky like hopeful flags. Joshua arrived with the journal, rebound, pages dog-eared. "Burned the rest," he said, sitting cross-legged on the grass. "Kept this. Our story, unfiltered." I took it, flipping to a blank page at the end. "Add to it. With me." He did. Scribbled lines about fear's sharp edges, love's steady hand. We talked for hours. Ugly truths, like how my jealousy of Emily had poisoned early days, or his guilt over leading her on, masking his own denial. No resolutions, just raw empathy, for the boys we'd been, the men we were becoming. The climax, unexpected as life is, came in October, during a freak heat wave that had the city sweating like L.A. Joshua's startup through a gala at the Museum of Pop Culture, all glass walls and Jimi Hendrix holograms. He invited me as his +1, tux and all, first public outing for the Hayes duo. We joked about hyphenating. Nerves jangled. His VP, a slick bro named Trent, had a history of jokes that skirted HR lines. The night unfolded smooth. Champagne toasts, schmoozing donors. Then Trent cornered us by the Nirvana exhibit, scotch in hand, grin oily. "Joshua, buddy. And Daniel, right? The muse." He winked, sloshing his drink. Heard this one's the reason you switched teams. Bold move. Hope it's worth the family fallout. Joshua stiffened, but I felt the shift first. The room tilting, anger surging like bile. Excuse me. Trent laughed, oblivious. Come on, it's complimentary. Tech world's full of rainbow warriors now. Just don't go full drama queen on us. The word, queen, ignited it. Joshua stepped forward, voice low thunder. Apologize. Now. Trent blinked, feigning confusion. Lighten up, man. It's a joke. Not funny. Joshua's fists clenched. Say it, or we're done here. The crowd hushed, phone subtly out, viral potential. Trent muttered a half-assed sorry, slinking off, but the damage bloomed. Whispers, stares. Joshua turned to me, eyes fierce. You okay? I nodded, but inside. Fury and pride warred. Fan no at the casual cruelty. Dawn cam for the man who'd finally drawn the line. We left early, driving out to Golden Gardens in his beat-up Tacoma, waves crashing under a harvest moon. On the beach, shoes off, we walked barefoot, the journal tucked in his jacket. That was for you, he said finally. Not just Trent. For every time I stayed silent. I stopped, pulling him close, the ocean's roar drowning our heartbeats. And this, I kissed him, slow and deep, salt on our lips, is for every time you didn't. We made love there, not in the carnal sense, but in whispers and touches that healed old wounds. Clothes on, hearts bare, the moon our only witness. No rush, no performance, just two souls sinking, like the tide pulling us home. The ending? Humanistic, as promised, not fairy tale bows, but earned grace. Joshua got promoted, VP out, diversity initiatives in, while I landed a fellowship in LA, a 6-month gig scripting for a queer indie series. Long distance loomed, but we planned. Weekends in Portland, video calls with wine. His family warmed slow, Thanksgiving with tentative hugs, his sister's toast to love that fits. Mine? My folks in Tacoma threw a barbecue, rainbow cake and all, though Dad still fumbles pronouns. Emily visited once, bearing housewarming cacti for our shared lease. We'd merged apartments, brick walls and all. You two are disgustingly cute, she teased. Don't screw it up. We won't. Or if we do, we'll fix it, because that's the American dream we chased. Flawed, fierce, unapologetic. Joshua's latest journal entry, read aloud over breakfast. Midnight knocks lead to mornings. Dan's my compass. North always. And in the quiet, as rain patters once more, I believe him. Us. This messy, miraculous life.